Welcome to Whispers of Power. Have you ever reached a point where you looked at your life and thought, after everything I've been through, something has to give? That point where you're not just tired, but you've outgrown the struggle itself. You've faced seasons that didn't make sense, where you gave your best but reaped silence. You've seen doors close for no reason and watched people you helped walk away as if you meant nothing. Yet somehow you're still here. That somehow is not luck. It is proof you have passed the kind of test that doesn't show up on paper but shows up in character. God's funding doesn't start with a deposit in your bank account. It starts with a deposit in your spirit, clarity, strength, and vision that cannot be bought. You've been prepared in the shadows for a life you could not have handled before. Now resources will start finding you, not because you begged or hustled for them, but because you're ready to carry them without losing yourself. This next chapter will feel different. The weight you carried will be replaced with a flow that does not burn you out. Opportunities will feel like they were hand-picked for you. You will see how every delay was protection, every loss was redirection, and every silent season was an investment. The same God who tested you is now resourcing you, and this time you will not just survive. You will build, lead, and live without the fear of running out. Let's explore together. Number one, your provision will no longer match your paycheck. It will match your purpose. Have you ever had a month where the numbers just did not add up, yet somehow you still made it through? I'm not talking about cutting back or scraping by. I'm talking about those moments where you honestly do not know how it happened, but everything you needed showed up. That is what it looks like when God starts funding your life. Your income stops being tied to a job description or a salary slip. It starts being tied to what you were created to do. There's a huge difference between living off your paycheck and living off your purpose. A paycheck is predictable. It has a fixed limit. It tells you how far you can go and what you can afford. Purpose does not work that way. Purpose demands more, but it also attracts more. When you step into what God actually put you here to do, you tap into a different system of provision. It will not make sense to the people around you because they will still be measuring your life by traditional math. But you will know something else is at work. Picture this. A woman leaves her stable office job to start a small community project that feeds struggling families. On paper, she should be broke within months. But somehow food donations arrive from people she has never met. Doors open for her to partner with organizations she never applied to. Volunteers show up exactly when she needs them. Her provision no longer matches her old paycheck. It matches her purpose. This is what happens when God takes over the funding of your life. It is not about luxury or showing off. It is about always having what you need to do what you were assigned to do. The supply will show up on time, not a minute earlier or later, because the timing is part of the training. You learn to trust, you learn to stop hoarding out of fear, and you learn that resources have a way of chasing purpose. When you understand this, you stop panicking when the numbers do not add up. You start expecting the impossible. And after a while, you realize the math stopped making sense because the provider never needed numbers to begin with. Number two, you won't need to explain your blessings. They will be so oddly specific that people will know it's divine. Have you ever received something so exact, so perfectly timed, that it almost felt like someone was reading your mind? Not the kind of blessing you could pass off as coincidence, but the kind that makes you pause and think, only God could have arranged that. That is what it looks like when heaven starts tailoring provision to fit you like a custom suit. When God is behind your blessings, they carry a signature you cannot fake. They are too specific, too precise, and too perfectly aligned with your needs to be random. You will not have to sit anyone down and convince them that you are blessed. The details will speak louder than your words. They will know because there is no other explanation that makes sense. Imagine this. A man loses his job unexpectedly. His savings will only cover him for 2 more weeks. In that same week, he gets a call from someone he met years ago for only 5 minutes at a conference. They had kept his number for some unknown reason, and now they have a project that needs his exact skill set. The pay is more than his old salary, and it starts immediately. No job search, no interviews, just provision knocking on his door at the perfect moment. That is not luck. That is divine precision. You will begin to see a pattern in your life. The things you prayed for in silence will start showing up without you even mentioning them to anyone. The right people will enter your life at the exact season you need them. An opportunity will land in your lap that connects directly to a dream you have kept hidden in your heart. You will find yourself in the right place at the right time so often that it becomes your new normal. The beauty of blessings like these is that they shut down arguments. People may doubt your faith or your journey, but they cannot deny results that defy logic. They will witness things happen for you that no networking, no hustling, and no planning could have achieved. And you will not need to defend it, because the evidence will be standing right in front of them. That is the power of blessings that are too specific to be anything but divine. Number 3. What you lost was an investment God made into your future story. Have you ever looked back at something you lost and thought, if I still had that, my life would be so much better? It is a natural way to think, but sometimes what we call a loss was never really taken from us. It was planted. God has a way of taking things we value, placing them in the ground of our lives, and letting them die to create something far bigger than what we started with. It is hard to see it in the moment. When you lose a relationship you poured years into, when a business you worked day and night to build suddenly crumbles, when a job you thought was secure is gone overnight, it feels like theft. It feels unfair and cruel, but in the long run you realize the subtraction was actually a deposit into your future. God was not robbing you, he was investing in a bigger story you could not see yet. Imagine a young man who saved for years to open a small cafe. Just when it starts gaining customers, the building owner sells the property and he is forced to shut down. Heartbroken, he thinks all his savings and effort are wasted. Months later, a friend offers him a partnership in a new location, triple the size, with better equipment and higher foot traffic. The skills, recipes, and loyal customers from the first cafe become the foundation for a booming business. What looked like an ending was really an upgrade in disguise. This is how God works. The seed has to leave your hands for it to multiply. If you cling to it, it can only ever be what it is right now. But once it is planted, it takes on the potential to become something far greater. The problem is the planting stage feels like loss because it happens underground where you cannot see the growth. The truth is, the subtraction was never meant to punish you. It was meant to free you from what was too small for your future. What you lost is working for you right now, even if it is invisible. And when the harvest comes, you will not just get back what you lost. You will see it multiplied in ways you could not have imagined. Number 4. God's funding won't always look like money. It will be access, protection, and relationships money could never buy. Have you ever been so focused on getting money that you almost missed the other ways God was providing for you? Many people think divine provision always shows up as a deposit in the bank, but when God funds your life, the currency is much bigger than cash. Sometimes he funds you through open doors you could never have forced open, through safety that keeps you in the game long enough to see the blessing, and through relationships that take you further than money ever could. Access is one of the most overlooked forms of divine funding. It might be a meeting you had no business being in, yet you're invited anyway. It could be a mentor who shares their knowledge and connections freely, giving you shortcuts that would have taken years to earn on your own. Access can launch you into rooms, networks, and opportunities you could not have afforded to buy your way into. Protection is another kind of funding. You may never know how many accidents, betrayals, or traps you were kept from because God blocked them. It is funding because without safety you would not even have the chance to succeed. Sometimes his provision is simply allowing you to sleep in peace while others stay awake, plotting against you. And then there are relationships. The right person can open more doors for you in one conversation than money could in a decade. A friendship can turn into a partnership. A stranger's recommendation can land you an opportunity that changes your life. These are the kinds of blessings that cannot be purchased. Picture this. A woman wants to start a non-profit to help at-risk youth. She has no budget, no office, no staff. But she meets someone at a community event who happens to manage a large facility and offers her space for free. Another person donates equipment. Volunteers show up who have the exact skills she needs. No money exchanged hands, yet everything she required was covered. That is God's funding. It does not just fill your wallet. It surrounds you with the tools, the people, and the safety to carry out your purpose. And often, those things are worth far more than money will ever be. Number 5. Your days of hustling for crumbs are over. Now your effort will carry a supernatural multiplier. Have you ever worked yourself to exhaustion and still felt like you were barely moving forward? like you were running on a treadmill, sweating, straining, putting in hours, but staying in the same place. That is what hustling for crumbs feels like. You give everything, yet the return is so small you wonder if it is even worth it. But when God shifts your season, the rules of effort and reward change. When God steps in, your work is no longer powered only by your strength. It carries a multiplier that makes little moves create big impact. You take one step, and somehow the results come back as if you took 10. It is not about being lazy. You will still work, but the difference is you will not be working against the current anymore. You will be moving with it. Imagine a fisherman spending all night casting his net and catching nothing. Frustrated, he is ready to give up. Then someone tells him to throw the net on the other side of the boat. It sounds too simple to work, but he does it anyway. In seconds, the net is so full of fish he can barely pull it in. Same boat, same net, same fisherman. Different result because of divine instruction and timing. This is what happens when the multiplier kicks in. Emails get answered faster. Deals that used to take months to negotiate close in weeks. People who once ignored your calls now seek you out. What used to be a battle just to survive becomes a smooth climb toward purpose. The supernatural multiplier is not about luck. It is the result of surviving the seasons where you worked for crumbs without quitting. It is God saying, now you can handle more without losing yourself. Your small efforts suddenly produce harvests too large to explain, and you realize it is not about how hard you worked, it is about who is working with you. Number 6. You'll realize you never had a resource problem, you had a timing problem. Have you ever looked back at a time you were struggling and thought, if I had what I have now back then, everything would have been different? It is easy to believe the problem was lack of money, lack of help, or lack of opportunity, but often the real issue was timing. You did not need more resources at that moment. You needed to be in the right season to handle them. When we are in the waiting stage, it can feel like God is holding out on us. We pray, we plan, we push, and still nothing moves. It is tempting to see that as punishment. But if you look closely, you will notice something else was happening during the wait. You were learning. You were shedding old habits. You were building skills and resilience. You were being shaped to handle more than you asked for. Imagine giving a teenager a luxury sports car before they have learned how to drive. The gift would not be a blessing. It would be dangerous. In the same way, God sometimes delays resources until you are ready to use them without wrecking yourself. When the timing is right, the same doors that once refused to open will swing wide without you forcing them. The same ideas that once went nowhere will suddenly attract support. People will show up, funding will appear, and opportunities will flow. Not because they were not available before, but because you are now ready for the scale they demand. The wait was never about denying you, it was about building you. And when you see what God was preparing you for, you will be glad the resources came late because they came at the perfect time. Number 7. Doors will open without you knocking because your name has already been spoken in rooms you've never entered. Have you ever had something good come your way without you chasing it? No application, no begging, no endless networking. It just showed up. That is what happens when God starts moving your name into places your feet have not yet stepped. Conversations you are not part of begin to shape your future. People you have never met start speaking on your behalf. And before you know it, doors are opening without you even touching the handle. This is not random. When you live with integrity, keep showing up, and stay faithful in the small things, you leave behind a trail of impressions. Someone remembers your kindness, someone recalls your excellence, someone sees your work ethic and stores your name away for a future moment. Then one day they are in a meeting and your name is exactly the answer to the problem on the table. Imagine a young designer working quietly from a small apartment, creating stunning pieces for local clients. She does not have the budget for big marketing campaigns. But one of her clients wears her design to a charity gala. A well-connected guest asks about it, hears her name, and later recommends her for a high-profile fashion event. She gets a call she never saw coming. She did not knock on that door. Her name did. When God puts you on someone's mind, you do not have to be in the room to be considered. He places you in the path of opportunities by using people as carriers of your name. This is why it is so important to give your best even when no one seems to notice. You never know when someone is taking mental notes for a conversation you cannot yet see. The beauty of these moments is that they often feel effortless. No stress, no forcing connections, just divine alignment. And when you walk through those unknocked doors, you will realize the preparation you have been doing in the background was not wasted. It was the quiet work that made you ready when your name was finally called. When your season comes, you will not have to convince anyone to open the door. They will already be holding it for you because long before you arrived, God made sure your name got there first. Number 8. You will eat from fields you did not plant and live in houses you did not build, not as a fluke, but as a fulfillment of promise. Have you ever walked into something so ready-made that all you had to do was show up? No years of building it from scratch, no endless nights of planning, yet it was handed to you fully prepared. When God says you will eat from fields you did not plant and live in houses you did not build, he is talking about blessings that are the direct harvest of seeds someone else sowed. Blessings that are not accidents, but the unfolding of a promise made long before you could see it. It is easy to think this sounds unfair, but in God's economy, it is not about fairness, the way the world defines it. It is about timing and covenant. Some blessings come to you because of the prayers of people who came before you, because of faithfulness you showed in hidden seasons, or because God's plan for your life requires you to start at a higher level than those before you did. Imagine a couple searching for a home. They keep finding places that are either too expensive or too damaged to fix. Just when they are about to give up, a family friend calls. An elderly couple is moving to another country and wants to sell their fully furnished home at a fraction of its value. The house is beautiful, the garden is mature, the kitchen is stocked. They walk in and feel like it was made for them. That is not a random stroke of luck. That is divine alignment. The same principle works outside of real estate. You might step into a leadership role at a company where someone else already did the hard work of building systems and earning trust. You might inherit a platform that took years to grow, yet it is now yours to expand. You might receive access to resources and relationships that others fought for but are now freely handed to you because the assignment belongs to you in this season. When this happens, it is not because you bypass the struggle. It is because you passed a different kind of test. You endured the seasons where nothing seemed to work, and now God is moving you into a place where you can build from overflow rather than from scarcity. And when you taste that kind of blessing, you will know it was never a fluke. It was a promise being kept. Number 9. People who ignored you in the struggle will ask to collaborate in your success, and you'll have to decide if their presence fits your mission. Have you ever noticed how invisible you can feel when you are struggling? You reach out for help and people suddenly get too busy. You share your ideas and they are brushed aside. Some even look at your efforts and quietly decide you are not worth investing in. But the moment you break through, the moment the results are visible, the silence ends. The same people who could not be bothered to check on you will start reaching out, this time with smiles, praise, and offers to work together. When God begins to lift you, your success becomes visible currency. People who once dismissed you now see opportunity in being connected to you. It is human nature. Many only value you when you are shining. But here is where the test comes. Just because someone is now willing to collaborate does not mean they belong in your new season. You will have to decide if their presence aligns with your mission, or if they are only showing up for the benefits. Imagine a man who spent years building a small tech startup. During the early days, he pitched his idea to friends and contacts, but they all politely declined. He struggled, failed a few times, and almost gave up. Then his product finally took off. Investors called, media covered his story. Suddenly, some of those same people who ignored him in the hard years wanted to partner with him. On the surface, it looked flattering. But he remembered who actually stood with him in the trenches, and he realized that not every collaborator is a true ally. God's blessings will attract both the right and wrong kind of attention. Some will approach you because they genuinely believe in your vision. Others will approach because they see a shortcut for themselves. Wisdom is knowing the difference. In this new season, your yes will be valuable, so give it carefully. Protect the integrity of your mission. Some doors you will open wide, and others you will quietly close, not out of bitterness, but because you now understand that not every connection is meant to travel with you. Success is not just about gaining more, it is about guarding what you have so the vision stays pure. Number 10. God's funding will strip away your dependence on man's approval, because he will provide in ways no human could take credit for. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to feel trapped when you think your survival depends on certain people liking you? You start shrinking yourself to fit their expectations, saying yes when you want to say no, and tolerating things you should walk away from, all because you believe they control your opportunities. That is the kind of quiet prison many live in without realizing it. When God funds your life, that prison door swings open. He begins to provide in ways so unusual, so perfectly timed, that no person can step in and say, "You have this because of me." This shift is not just about receiving blessings, it is about regaining your freedom to live with conviction instead of compromise. Imagine a woman whose career depends on one influential client. She puts up with unreasonable demands because losing that client would mean losing her income. Then, out of nowhere, she lands a contract with a completely different organization, one that values her work, pays her better, and treats her with respect. The new opportunity arrives without her even applying for it. Suddenly she realizes she no longer needs to tiptoe around someone's ego to survive. God removed the leverage they had over her. When your provision comes directly from God, people can no longer manipulate you with threats of taking it away. You stop chasing approval because you know your source is higher than any boss, friend, or connection. This freedom changes the way you move. You can speak the truth without fear. You can walk away from situations that compromise your values. You can make decisions based on purpose instead of desperation. And here is the irony. When you no longer depend on man's approval, you actually gain more respect. People sense when you are not owned by their opinion. They may not always like you, but they will recognize the strength in you. God's funding is not just about resources. It is about building you into someone who cannot be bought, bribed, or silenced. It is about making sure that when you succeed, there is no confusion about who made it possible. And when the story is told, the only name that gets the credit will be his. Number 11, your bank account will stop being the measure of your security. Your faith will. Have you ever had a season where your bank balance dictated your mood? When the numbers were up, you felt safe. When they were low, anxiety ruled your thoughts. Many people live their entire lives this way, tied to a fluctuating figure on a screen. But when God starts funding your life, he begins to break that dependence. Your sense of safety stops coming from what you can count and starts coming from what you can trust. Money is a tool, but it is a fragile foundation. One unexpected bill, one lost job, one market shift, and it can vanish. Faith, on the other hand, does not move with the economy. When your security rests in God, you can face financial ups and downs without falling apart because you know the true source of your provision has not changed. Picture a man who loses his job unexpectedly. In the past, that would have sent him into panic mode, but now, instead of spiraling, he prays, takes practical steps, and trusts that the same God who opened doors before will do it again. Within weeks, he lands a new role, one he did not even apply for, and realizes the peace he felt during the gap was worth more than the paycheck itself. When your faith becomes your security, your decisions change. You stop taking every opportunity just for the money. You stop clinging to toxic situations out of fear of losing income. You begin to make choices that align with purpose because you believe that wherever God sends you, he will supply you. This shift does not mean you become careless with money. In fact, you become wiser because you are no longer ruled by fear. You see money as a resource, not a master. You use it without letting it use you. In the end, the real wealth is not in your account. It is in knowing that even if the numbers drop to zero, you're still covered. That kind of security cannot be stolen, shaken, or taxed because it does not live in a bank. It lives in your trust in the one who never runs out. Number 12. The blessings will come with boundaries. God won't fund self-destruction, only purpose. Have you ever wondered why some prayers seem unanswered, even when you know God could easily say yes? It is not always because the request is bad in itself. Sometimes it is because the timing or the way you would use it could hurt you more than help you. When God funds your life, his goal is not just to give you more, but to make sure what he gives pushes you toward purpose, not destruction. Blessings without boundaries can become weapons in the wrong hands. Money without discipline can feed greed. Influence without character can breed arrogance. Freedom without wisdom can lead to reckless choices. God loves you too much to hand you resources that will pull you away from him or derail your mission. Imagine a young musician who is incredibly talented but still battling insecurity and pride. If she were to get sudden fame and wealth, the pressure and attention could crush her before she matures. Instead, God allows her to grow through smaller platforms, shaping her character and resilience. By the time the bigger stage arrives, she can handle it without losing herself. Boundaries are not punishment, they are protection. Sometimes the no you hear is really a not yet, or not like this. God will open doors that fit your calling and close ones that lead you off track. He will provide enough for your assignment, but not so much that you wander into distractions. The truth is, the very limits you fight against might be the reason you succeed in the long run. Without them, you could burn through blessings and be left emptier than before. But with them, you build the capacity to carry more, use it well, and keep it. When the blessings come, they will come with structure, accountability, and clarity. They will be designed to sustain you, not destroy you, and when you look back, you will be grateful for every door He did not open, because you will see how those boundaries kept your life aligned with the very reason you were blessed in the first place. Number 13, your enemies will witness your table being set, and their discomfort will be part of your reward. Have you ever had someone dismiss you, underestimate you, or even try to block you only for life to bring you back into their view at a much higher level? That is the picture behind the idea of God setting a table for you in the presence of your enemies. It is not about petty revenge, it is about undeniable proof that the very people who thought you were finished have to watch you thrive. When God sets that table, it is not hidden in a corner. It is positioned where those who spoke against you cannot help but see it. They may not clap, they may not congratulate you, but they will not be able to deny that you were elevated. Their discomfort becomes part of the reward, not because you enjoy their pain, but because it confirms the truth. They could not stop what God planned. Picture this. A man works in a company where a supervisor constantly undermines him, taking credit for his ideas and blocking his promotions. Eventually, the man leaves feeling defeated. Years later, the company struggles with a major problem that only his expertise can solve. He's hired back, not as an employee, but as a highly paid consultant. The same supervisor who once tried to keep him small now has to sit in meetings and take notes while he leads. That is what a table set in the presence of enemies looks like. The beauty of this kind of blessing is that you do not have to chase it. You do not have to scheme or force the moment. You simply keep doing what you are called to do, and God handles the stage and the audience. And when that moment comes, you will not need to gloat. You will not even need to speak. The success itself will do the talking. Those who underestimated you will be forced to acknowledge that the hand of God was on your life the entire time. Their silent discomfort will be the proof that your victory was not luck, but divine orchestration. Number 14. Opportunities will come disguised as inconveniences, and saying yes will unlock provision you didn't see coming. Have you ever had a moment where something felt like a hassle, a distraction, or bad timing, only to later realize it was the very thing that shifted your life for the better? That is how many of God's opportunities arrive, dressed up as interruptions. They do not always look glamorous or convenient at first. In fact, they often come when you're tired, busy, or convinced you have better things to do. But hidden inside that inconvenience is a door that leads to provision you could not have planned for. God rarely sends opportunities wrapped in comfort. If they came too easy, you might overlook them or take them for granted. Instead, they often show up as extra work, unexpected detours, or sudden requests that stretch you. The test is whether you will say yes, even when it is not on your schedule. Imagine a woman leaving work late one evening. All she wants is to go home, but a friend calls asking if she can help set up for a small charity event. She reluctantly agrees. While helping, she meets someone who later offers her a business contract that triples her income. That blessing was not on her calendar, but it was on God's. The truth is, many people miss their breakthrough because they only say yes to opportunities that look easy or impressive from the start, but God hides provision in places that require faith to enter. Saying yes when it is inconvenient is often the key that unlocks a much bigger door. So the next time something comes your way that feels like a disruption, pause before you turn it down. Ask yourself if this could be one of those moments in disguise. You might find that the burden you almost avoided was actually the bridge to your next level. And when you step into it, you will see that the inconvenience was never a setback. It was the setup. In final words, Have you noticed how different life feels when the weight is no longer all on your shoulders? When you stop waking up wondering how you will make ends meet and start waking up wondering what you will create, build, or give today? That is the shift that happens when you have passed the test and God begins to resource your life directly. It is not just about having more, it is about being equipped to live without the constant fear of running out. You have already survived the seasons that tried to break you. You endured being overlooked, underestimated, and undersupported. You kept going when it made no sense to keep going. That persistence was not wasted. It positioned you to handle the kind of provision that is now coming your way. This next chapter will require you to think differently. You cannot cling to scarcity thinking when abundance begins to flow. You cannot hold back out of fear when opportunities start showing up. The same God who carried you through lack will teach you how to manage overflow. There will be moments when the blessings seem unusual or even overwhelming. Do not question if you deserve them. Instead, remember that provision is tied to purpose, and you are being resourced for the work you were born to do. You are stepping into a season where your steps will be lighter, not because the road is easier, but because you are no longer walking it alone. And the best part, this is only the beginning of what God has planned for you. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.